Hey everyone, it's Ashley Jones, Event Director at Marketing Showcase. Thanks for watching one of our recordings from Marketing Showcase Online. I really hope you enjoy it, and hopefully I'll see you at another one soon. This session I'm really excited for. We're doing something a little bit different. It does rely on your participation, I should say, because it's a live Q&A, okay? So we're not going to be sharing any slides. We chuck that slide deck away. We're not going to be sharing our screens. We're not going to be doing anything fancy. But I am going to be joined by an email marketing wizard, okay? And that is the CEO of Force24, Adam Oldfield. And I'm sure as soon as you come on, he'll say, why have you bigged me up like that? But seriously, what Adam doesn't know about email marketing probably isn't worth knowing. So we're really lucky to have a chance to kind of steal his time for 30 minutes, as he's always busy, ask the questions that you guys want the answers to. And hopefully that will leave you in a better position to get on and write some brilliant emails that work post this webinar. Let's invite our superstar guest to the stage. Adam, are you there, please?
Yeah, I am. I don't know whether I can live up to this build-up though. This superstar.
I don't know. I've said I've got when this all ends, I've definitely got a job as a hype man. You know, like at the start of a concert, just to start really getting everyone going. So.
Definitely, mate. You can definitely do that.
Cool. Right. Are you good?
Yeah, I was just going to say I've turned the virtual background on. Should I turn it off? Off. Right. Yeah. Agreed. None. Real life. That's what it's all about. The shed.
That's it. The shed. This is the email marketing shed. We're going to refer to it. This is the center of the email marketing universe. Is the shed that you're sat in now. Okay. Look, Adam, I don't want to waste too much time because we've only got 30 minutes. So let's get into it. And the way I want to start this is we're going to start with a poll. Okay. And we're going to ask the audience what the current state of play is with people's emails. So are you not sending, but want to start? Are you struggling with email marketing? Are you sending email, but you're doing a basic batch and blast approach? You've got your marketing list probably stored on a spreadsheet. You're uploading it to your email marketing software and you're sending out a message there and then. Or are you a full-on marketing automation wizard? That should be working, but I've got a feeling because I haven't, oh, there we go. Got a few responses in there now. And just while we let that whiz away, Adam, I'm going to ask you your first question here. So Tim Lynch, in advance of this talk, asks, the mantra for B2C email marketing is effective calls to action, focus on the customer, not the product. Is the same true for B2B email marketing campaigns, or should the focus be on something different?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Ash. That's a great question. And Lynn, by the way, a man in a shed, there's a novelty. Yeah, that's what my wife would say as well. That's a really, really good question because actually it doesn't, in my opinion, really relate to email marketing though. It's more about this shift. And so it's essentially saying, B2C marketing is all about the consumer. It's all about value, etc. B2B marketing is about something else? No, it isn't. Of course it isn't. The reality of it is, when I first started in marketing 20 some years ago, it was always like this big differentiation between B2B and B2C. And, oh, no, you can't do that in B2B. You can't do that in B2C. The reality of it is that line has blurred more and more and more and more, and to become almost like a homogenous blob. And what we're seeing now is the major tech brands are communicating with their customers in a B2C faux fashion. And by what I mean is the language. You look at the language of tech brands now coming out of Silicon Valley. It's consumer-led language. You know, we're dumbing it down. We're making it simple because throughout our lives, you know, B2B has been very stuffy and very formal. That's all changed. It's moved away. So it's all about the value of the customer. It's all about how to create a journey for that customer. So B2C has been good at this for a long time. And B2B is adopting it now. And this is this movement that we're seeing. And it's all about basically saying that our customer is also a consumer. They get spoken to 90% of the day by consumer brands, and they like that, how that works. And we are relating to that approach as well. So it's all about what value we can bring rather than features and product. It's all about education. It's all about empowering them to make better decisions. But then it's all about delivering content that's short and concise and respects the fact that they don't have much time. So that's the only difference in B2B and B2C, is the fact that the consumer has a bit more time, whereas in business, our communications have to be a little bit more succinct. but the techniques largely these days are the same. That's just, have you seen this? Do you agree with that, Ash?
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's time and time again, it doesn't matter what the webinar is, there seems to be this question that comes up: is this the same with B2B as it is to B2C? And I think the tactics that marketers use do change. We see that for some reason or another, B2C brands seem to dominate social, B2B brands seem to take a back seat on that at the moment, and they're slowly catching up. But really, we're all humans. When I speak to you about, speaking at our next event, I'm speaking to you, Adam. I'm not speaking to Mr. Force 24, although you are Mr. Force 24. And that's what I'd say. I've just shared the results of that poll. We had a good sample there. Adam, I'm going to talk you through them and maybe you can make a comment on them. 20% of our audience are not sending email, but they want to start. 72% are taking that batch and blast approach, and only 9% are really fully optimizing marketing automation. Is that what you see in kind of the global sphere when you're speaking to email marketers, and what's your advice to get people moving up that that funnel?
Sure. So firstly, I mean, those that aren't sending, direct comms is our route to the customer. It doesn't matter what brand you're supporting or what industry you're in. Direct comms is how we generate margin and ROI. Paid traffic and the lead gen in general is quite expensive. Direct is the objective of this channel here within the inbound, as HubSpot would call it, is all about generating at cost a contact. Direct comms then take the margin. They're the ones that generate the ROI. So they're the ones that say, thank you for joining our list, or thank you for buying this tiny product, or whatever it may be. And our job now in direct comms is to try and grow that account. So if we're not doing email marketing at the moment, it's something that really, you're obviously on a webinar about email marketing, so it's probably something that you're keen to start to do. But the point is that actually that's a massive improvement. Then the majority of the market, 72%, that echoes with the current situation. So at the moment, the batch and blasts have got the market share. So, and actually, ironically, it's about 70% of the market share. MailChimp, Sendinblue, this kind of product do have the majority of the market share in the UK at the moment. And then actually, it's a little bit more than 9% that then have the automation share, the HubSpots, the 424s, the .digitals, this kind of business. We have a much smaller market share, but that's growing massively. Now, what I'd say to the guys that are in the second category, where you're doing the batch and blast, it's about optimization. It's very much about that next step isn't far away. And actually, that next step, what it does is it unlocks you as a marketeer. So in the batch and blast world, we're running on 2 cylinders in terms of our capability, but also the amount of effort that I as a marketeer have to expend in order to do this batch and blast campaigns is disproportionate to those that have got marketing automation nailed. Yeah, we've got to write the same email copy. Yeah, we've got to do all the functional bits, but actually all the scheduling, all the data segmentation, all the lead escalation that makes it really sing is done for us. And that's what it's all about. So that transition of the 72% of people right now is a really important objective for you to cover off. And we're going to get talking about some more functional things in I'm seeing the chat now. We've got some great questions coming in, but very sort of functionally based questions, which is great, is what I like. So over to you, Ash. What's next?
Adam, we've had 2 questions come in on this topic, and then there's been a third put in the Q&A and been upvoted twice. So when I say the acronym GDPR to you, what's your initial reaction?
I'm vanilla about it. The reality is, I mean, everybody's scared of GDPR. The GDPR actually didn't change that much from the original Data Protection Act from, I don't know, our DPO tells me all the time, was it the 70s or something like that?
I was gonna say it's 80s maybe.
Yeah, so the reality of it is, from a B2B perspective and a B2C perspective, it didn't change that much in terms of our marketing department. Yes, it imposed rules about how we can store data and the data that we can store, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of our marketing communications, it didn't change. And a lot of people killed, huge percentages of their data lists and whatnot after GDPR, quite rightly so in some instances, but that's actually a blend. What the GDPR is actually doing is it's forcing you to do better marketing. And this actually is things in turn with, a couple of questions that I've seen come through. How do I get better email delivery rates? And this is a topic I've spoken about loads, and it's about basically getting rid of bad contacts, getting rid of the people that aren't interested, getting rid of the people that you haven't engaged with you for months and months and months and months, and furloughing those contacts. And so the GDPR, in theory, is a framework for optimization. So when you say the GDPR, I don't think, oh my God, regulation, I'm scared. I think, great, there's an opportunity for us to get better through legislation. And so I think that's a really positive point. But in terms of, there's always a question as well in B2B, oh, well, we're not allowed to email speculatively in B2B. And this is one that I can directly answer. The PECR, the privacy, the P, what does the P stand for? Oh my God, my mind's gone blank. PECR is a component of the GDPR. It's on the ICO's website. It's the Personal Electronic Communications Regulations.
Yeah, you got it.
You're
right. It deals with the personal. It's my data, isn't it? That's me as a person, right?
That's right. So in the PECR, clause 142 to 147 specifically refers to how businesses can interact with other businesses. And the simple fact is, Ash, your data is ash.jones@gmail.com or whatever it is, and your phone number, etc., etc. You are borrowing data from Marketing Showcase in the eyes of the law, and we are communicating to the Marketing Showcase when we buy data from you. If you haven't opted into my list, it doesn't mean that I can't send emails to you. What it means is that I've done some diligence and says the Marketing Showcase can use an email marketing platform, and I've said that that's okay. Then what I've done is I've said, look, this is a business communication because we're a business-to-business only organization, and I am legally under the PECR, clause 142 to 147, allowed to send the business an email. Now, the point here is that the rights of the consumer sat behind that email address are not affected, and the right to object and remove, unsubscribe is absolute. Now, the only change that the GDPR brought about in this was, believe it or not, pre-GDPR, as a business, you receiving emails on your inbox in your for Marketing Showcase, you did not have the legal right to unsubscribe. Not many people know that, but that was actually the only change that came in from a B2B perspective. You now have the legal right, because you're a consumer sat at the end of that email address. Yes, I'm communicating with the business. I have the legal right to opt out. So that's the new thing. We were all doing that anyway. So, actually, it's not changed that much. So I like it. I think it was a great thing to have happened. I think there is a little bit of fear in the marketplace about it. And I thought it's brought process to business. I'm scared. I feel a bit scared that, I bought something off somebody 5 years ago and they've still got my data and they've got poor data privacy controls. And, and my data that they collected 5 years ago from me when I bought a tennis racket is now available to some hacker somewhere that's, I like the fact that there's regulation controlling what you can store and what you can have. So not specifically an email marketing point, but
no, but Adam, moving on from that, there are still a proportion of B2B marketers who their strategy, fair enough, is to build subscriber lists and communicate predominantly with those subscriber lists. So Adam asked in advance, how do you build email lists that are worth their salt? Have you got any tips to actually growing your email list through subscription?
Yeah, so this is all about the use of email, and this is all about what you're trying to achieve. So webinars like this are a great way of doing it. So when we talk about marketing, I always try and reiterate the point that marketeers are not salespeople. So we never sell. Never, ever sell. We educate. We only educate, and our education empowers people to buy. So we're not selling, we're educating people to get to the point where they can buy. So how do I build a list? Well, I demonstrate the value of joining that list. And how do I do that? Well, I hold webinars. I produce white papers. I produce content. And that content is the key. And the point is that people can read this content, think, wow, that was actually worth keeping. Because marketeers are actually pretty passionate about CPD. We're actually pretty keen to keep learning. So the point that I want to make there is about I drive quality in my lists by putting quality out there. Now, the next thing that I'd say really about lists and segmentation is it's about killing as quickly as you can collect. So growing a list exponentially, wonderful, but it's very much about vanity. What I want to do, and Microsoft's advice is 14 days of no opens, delete them from your list. So if I've been sending you an email and in 14 days you haven't opened it, get rid. Now understand that's Microsoft's opinion. And Microsoft are the big guys in the marketplace, so they matter, and their algorithms are sort of based around this kind of engagement-led decisions as to what goes through. But the point is, know where you are. If your list is going like this and you're not culling bad data at the bottom, you're actually staying level. Because for every one contact that's bad, you're killing 4 good contacts through poor engagement. So the point that I'd say is, how do you build a list that's worth its salt? Right, well, put value out there. People can join and enjoy this value. Brilliant. And that's the job of your email, to propagate that value. Then what you do is you maintain that you are aggressively removing people that aren't interested anymore. When they're not interested, the power of the list gets better. Then you're going to expect me to talk about how that list powers personalization, how that list can power timing and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, that's great, but that's about how we use the list. Keeping a list is all about maintaining accuracy. That's, in my opinion, get rid as quickly as you collect if it's not good enough.
And Adam, the most upvoted question at the moment that's sitting on the top of the Q&A is, what are your top tips for maximizing email deliverability? Which I think just echoes the point you've just made. But if you could just explain a little bit further about actual deliverability and my email, making sure that it arrives in your inbox.
Gets that. Okay, so I love this question. I think it's because this is one of those eye-open moments. Okay, so I've got a list. Let's pretend I'm doing my batch and blast and I've got 20,000 people and I'm sending out food to this list. I'm not sending to 20,000 people. I'm sending to 2 places. I'm sending to Google and I'm sending to Microsoft. Google own, I don't know, 48% of the email marketing world, and Microsoft probably own another 51%. And the rest of it is Yahoo and BT. And so it's tiny in comparison. Don't quote me on those numbers, by the way. It does this. It's just an illustration. The point is, it's the majority of the market is 2 places. So when I hit send on my email, I send 10,000 to Google, I send 10,000 to Microsoft. The biggest tech companies on the planet obviously are using AI to understand what's good and what's bad. So first thing that they do is they will then parse the email and check for bad words. That's obvious, we know all that. And they'll also check the links to make sure you've got a HTTPS and that you've got no viruses and all the rest of it. That's all basic stuff. Actually, what they do now is they say, okay, right, I'm going to now build what we call a reputation score. And that reputation score is done through me letting some of the emails through, and as Microsoft, letting some of the emails through, watching how people open, click, and engage. If the open rate is low, if the click rate is low, if the engagement rate is low, it assumes, sorry.
Bless you.
It assumes the rest of the open rate and engagement is going to be low, and then may give it a lower score, which means you could well end up in the spam folder. Now, the aim is it tries to understand and build a quality score, a reputation score for you as a business. So whether you're sending from MailChimp or Force24 or wherever, it's looking at you less about MailChimp and Force24, and it's saying these are good guys because historically this is what happens. Now, the problem is, what you might have seen through email marketing is what we call bot clicks. When we send out an email and somebody opens and clicks the email like 100 times in a split second. That's not obviously the person clicking the buttons 100 times. That is the pre-checkers that are within Microsoft checking it because they don't trust you. So that's one clear way of knowing that your reputation score is low. So then what happens is, we've established that we've got a good reputation score because we're sending emails that contain great content, people are engaging, they're getting high open rates, high click rates. What's a high open rate? What's a high click rate? Anything above 15% is classed as reasonable in terms of an open rate. Anything above 10% in terms of click is classed as reasonable. Goes all the way up to 100% beyond that. So if we're not getting that, we need to cull some of our bad members. So that reputation score is there in Microsoft, and it's saying, okay, Ash, you've got a good reputation score. So the next time you send an email, I'm going to fast track you straight through. because we know people love your content. The problem is with the batch and blast crew, that reputation score lasts for about 7 days and starts to significantly deteriorate after 7 days. So if my strategy is that I'm going to send you an email once a week, or once every couple of weeks, or once a month, I'm working on the tail end of the positivity I created last time. So, you don't have to be sending to the same person every day, but the approach should be a much smoother delivery of email through the networks. And that's what they're trying to see. And then that reputation score stays high, and we get a much easier ride, and we get a better response into the inbox. That's quite a geeky sort of look there. Do you feel comfortable with that exploration, Ash, or do you think that
I think you answered it beautifully. I think that's a really, really helpful thing. I think the one thing I'd say is don't ignore those basic steps. That is a really advanced kind of concept to grab. And there'll be a lot of people out there that maybe want to know those simple steps too. I don't know whether you can round those up. A couple of questions that I've got in also relate to, can you work out what your sender reputation is with Microsoft and Google?
So Google have a product called DMARC, and Microsoft have a product called SNDS. And unfortunately, unless you are a email deliverability consultant, they mean very little to you. And it's more about a feedback channel. So these are technical controls that are put in place that enable professionals to understand what's happening. So it's kind of difficult for the average person to be able to interpret that and use them. So, and I'd also say, really, that's our job. So our job is to be looking at this kind of stuff on your behalf and saying, hey, Mr. Customer, we've just had a really bad, and really, it's only when there's something really bad that happens that we get that feedback.
Adam, when you say your job, you mean you as not as the marketer, as the email sender, the platform.
Yeah, so obviously we've got a team of guys that do nothing other than consult on your behalf, and that's just part of what we do. That's what you pay for your email for. It doesn't cost money to send an email, but you pay for the fact that we're giving a level of assurance behind it getting there, and that's what that team does. So I think that's a technical way, but the way that you see it, first of all, is through these bot clicks. If anybody's seen these bot clicks out there, in fact, guys, in the chat, can we just have a Y? Could you put a Y or an N? If you've seen what I'm describing as a bot click, so an email's been opened and clicked like hundreds of times. Can we just go into the chat? Have you seen it? Y or N? Y or N, and Y, and N, Y.
50-50.
Very much 50-50. Okay, and that's great news, because what's happening is obviously that's the pre-checkers saying that we don't trust you at the moment. We're going to check it. Now, but if you think about the horsepower needed from Microsoft's point of view to check every email coming into that network, it's too much. So they're relying on this reputation score. Now, if you've not seen it, it's possibly because actually two outcomes: you're amazing, you're nailing it, or they've stopped checking you. And that means that you're going directly into spam, or it means that the mail server that you're using is suppressing those, so you're not actually seeing it. So it is a very common thing to have seen, and it's quite rare that you can eliminate it. But it's all about basically making sure that when we see them, we suppress them by getting rid of some of the bad contacts, getting the engagement levels up, and then the Microsoft and Google will then say, hey, this guy's pretty good, and it just lets you through. So it's something that we've got to keep a very close eye on, really.
Right, two things. We're short on time. Okay, so the next few questions that we're doing are going to be, I'm putting you in the hot seat, Adam. We're going to want short, punchy answers. The second thing to that is, if everybody that's watching opens the Q&A, we've got 11 questions that are open in there, and you've got the ability to upvote the ones that are most important to you. And that means they get closer to the top, and we're just going to answer the ones that are right at the top, Adam, and we're going to smash through them as quick as possible. So the one sitting at the top at the moment is HTML versus plain text. What's best to use and why?
Well, plain text and HTML is the same thing. You just render, when you send a plain text, you're actually sending HTML, but it looks like plain text. Plain text is using the standard system font with no images whatsoever. So what we're actually referring to is the content ratio. Is it images or is it text? And again, Microsoft, Google, they've moved on. They can now filter images. So the reality is it makes no difference. However, I go into the point of saying, well, what's going to grab my attention quicker? And this is where plain text is a little bit weaker. So unless I'm constructing beautiful, simple, well, easy to consume emails, it's very difficult to get the same return out of plain text that you would out of a branded. What I would say of a plain text is that it tends to be, it polarizes the audience. You get people that hate it and you get high unsubscribes, and you get people that love it and that then engage. So you've got to use plain text wisely. If it is the linchpin of your strategy, you're probably killing more data than is necessary. And unsubscribes aren't what we're aiming for. You know, I'm saying about get rid of the bad stuff, yes, but actually I don't want unsubscribes. So pretending to be a human when I'm sending from a computer is not brilliant. I would always favor a well-structured, very succinct, branded template with follow-ups of plain text.
Okay, Adam, you roll nicely into the next top asked question, which is there an ideal template format that you can give us to sending B2B emails from the subject line to the call to action?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is really easy. Microsoft give this away. It says 10 words, 1 button. So that, I mean, you're never going to do it. I've tried. You're never going to hit 10 words. Well, 1 button you can do. But the point is that the structure of that email, and I think we probably got this on one of our other guides on our content lab, perhaps we could follow up with that, is really simple. So we tend to favor logo, 10 words, CTA, supporting information. That's what it is. And the structure of the font sizes, etc., you know, it's 10 words, 1 button. If you can't say it, supplement those 10 words with a small paragraph above the button. But the 1 button thing is key, because this shows that I understand you. I understand what you want as a marketer. And I've done my segmentation, and rather than giving you 10 things to look at, I'm giving you 1 thing to do today. Just 1, not choice. I don't want to give you choice. B2C consumer, and I know we were saying there's no difference. B2C consumer, where it's an e-com environment, that rule goes out the window. It's all about a breadth of product that fits you, not just 1. But in a B2B environment, it's very much about simplicity, condensed to 10 words, 1 button. I've done the thinking for you. You're going to love this. Here it is.
Perfect. Good. In your experience, what type of content performs best on email for engagement? Video, text, blogs? What should I be pushing in my content?
Blogs.
Say again?
Never blogs. So blogs convert at 1/10 of the main conversion rate of the website, which means that I'm probably going to be throwing my traffic into thin air. I'm very much about video, 100%, love it. Whether it pulls better than a content download, yeah, it's debatable. I don't always want to watch a video. Sometimes I want to be able to download a PDF and flick through it, keep it on my desk, whatever. That's down to the individual, it's down to the business. But what I'd say is if you're directing traffic to a blog, that's fine, but no, you're working at usually 1/10 of the main site conversion rate. So if you're at 3%, you're at 0.3% conversion rate. Whereas a landing page to a PDF should be tracking at about 10 or 15% conversion rate. So you're getting the content propagated. Remember, you're not charging for this, but it doesn't really matter. But the point is people engage with the content more that they download or view online in a succinct downloadable PDF more than they do a blog. Blogs are very formatted, templated, it's quite boring. So I would always say, don't do a blog unless you know why you're doing a blog. Do blogs. I'm not saying don't do blogs. I'm saying sending traffic to blogs is, you wouldn't do it on paid search, would you? So, why would you do it on email?
Adam, can you share with me and the visitors, this is one I'm actually interested in, best ways to optimize subject lines?
Yeah, okay. There's lots and lots of different ways of doing this particular one, but there's some thinking a while ago about the length of the subject line. So the number of characters within the subject line is critical, and ideally we're looking for 4 or 5 words maximum. There was then some thinking around how you start, and there was often some, you start with a verb. You should always start with a verb and go into something. So then it's what I expect. Am I going to read something? Am I going to watch something? Am I going to download something? Start with that and then move into what it is. And remember, you got 4 or 5 words. So take the verb out, you've only got 4 or 3 or 4 words. So the key is, again, it's about being super punchy and super concise. There are lots of then thinking around, do you use emojis? Do you use brackets? Do you use exclamations? Our view now is that the brand should be confident enough that over exclamation isn't used. We don't need to exclamate. And actually, excessive punctuation, which an emoji is, can be flagged as a negative from a deliverability point of view. So just keep it simple and just make it very clear and don't mislead the reader.
Great.
Most important thing.
Right, we've hit the 11 o'clock timeline. There's still loads of questions. We're not going to get through all of them, that's for sure. I'm hoping maybe if Adam, haven't got another call, we can just spend 5 minutes smashing through the last couple. But before everyone, if you have got to go, I just want to launch this poll and I'll leave it running. Force 24, obviously, as you can see from this, they're very well placed to help with your email marketing and marketing automation. If you want to know more about the platform and the prices involved, there's a poll up there so you can get the price guide. Let's get back into the questions though, Adam. Bethany is smashing the questions here. We've had a few from her and they're all getting upvoted. So Bethany, you can walk away today being our star quiz master. How would you recommend segmenting email audiences? Interest, age, how do you do it?
Okay, so, right, 2 levels, vertical, horizontal. Okay, vertical is actually what we would class as butcher, baker, candlestick maker, industry verticals, easy peasy. Within that, it's engagement segmentation. Okay, so I don't want just butcher, baker, candlestick maker. Now, your point was actually a bit more granular than that. You wanted to look at age or whatever. Yeah, fine. That's your vertical in a B2C, is what age, what gender, whatever it may be. Now, we then go one step further within that segmentation and we then sub-segment and say what stage of engagement they are. So I've got a regular purchaser or somebody that's highly engaged. How do we treat those differently to the same male in his 40s that's not engaged? So we've got this horizontal, I know it should be horizontal and vertical is the engagement, but it isn't for some reason. So you've got your vertical segmentation, which is the industry or the specific attributes. And you do that based on what you think the defining point is. Is age relevant in your marketplace? Not in ours, so it doesn't matter. Is gender relevant? No, not in ours, so it doesn't matter. What actually matters is the butcher, baker, the candlestick maker. Now, within that, as I said, is highly engaged, customer, not very engaged, never engaged. And that's where we use lead scoring or whatever it may be, or recent purchases or whatever it may be. But that vertical segmentation and horizontal segmentation combined is the power. Now, you can't actually do this on MailChimp because if I'm in our list, I'm not in another list. And that's a problem. Whereas in products like Force 24, it's like tags almost rather than lists. They operate exactly the same, but it's almost like a tag. And I may be in many tags. So if I want to get my butchers that are highly engaged, I communicate to that audience in that way. So what I would say is, segmentation is 3-dimensional rather than just a single dimension. And that's my biggest learn around segmentation probably over the last couple of years. Talk to them differently based on life stage or engagement. Obvious.
Thanks very much. Adam, we could just go on for ages here. I think there would be a continuous cycle of questions, and I do have to draw it to a close at some point because we've got another session in less than 25 minutes that I want people to be prepared for as well. So Adam, I want to thank you for your time. It's always great to get you on something like this. And I really enjoyed the format. I don't know about you. And if we can have some feedback in the chat about this Q&A style for Marketing Showcase rather than Adam sharing his slides and talking about something specific, let us know. If you prefer that, that's absolutely fine, but it will fuel what we do going forward. Hi everyone, thanks for watching another recording from Marketing Showcase Online. I hope you enjoyed it. Just to let you know, we've got all of the recordings uploaded to our brand new YouTube channel, so go over there and check it out if you want some more great content. We run these events once every month, free of charge, so head over to our website to grab tickets for next month's event. I look forward to seeing you there.